Hello everyone. As living organisms, we are designed to move away from pain and in the direction of pleasure. Our nervous system is highly attuned to pain stimulus and to pleasure stimulus. Move away from the cactus thorn, move towards the pretty flower. We want to maintain our happiness for as long as possible. We would do anything to avoid pain. But what about those of us who can't hold on to happiness, who can't really feel it? It's easy to assume that happiness is always a good thing. But the truth is, our subconscious mind doesn't always agree. For some of us, the truth is, happiness is like the pot at the end of the rainbow. It's this goal which hovers in the future, a dream which seems completely unreachable. How did it end up this way? We ended up this way because we suffered so much in our lives that happiness began to feel false. We ended up this way because we felt blindsided by painful experiences. When we are blindsided by painful experiences, especially when we were feeling good, we start to feel like happiness turns us into sitting ducks. We start to feel as if happiness is vulnerability that leaves us open for attack at any moment. This belief system can ride on the back of seemingly insignificant events. For example, a 3-year-old is laughing hysterically and not looking where they're running, and so they fall and they experience that kind of pain that's associated with injury. That child might have experienced that extreme dramatic fall from the elation and excitement they were feeling to that utter powerlessness and pain they felt when they fell, and think to themselves, subconsciously of course, this is not worth it. The happiness might just be the reason why something bad just happened to me. In other words, they would rather just stay on guard and not let themselves feel elation for the sake of their own safety. Another example is a child who gets super excited only to be disappointed. This child makes the subconscious conclusion that excitement inevitably leads to disappointment. Another example is that the child growing up with a parent who is a chronic worrier may be playing joyfully, and their parent repeatedly and in a panicked tone warns them about this and that bad thing that could happen, which instills the child with the fear of the world and teaches the child to distrust their positive emotional states as if happiness and fun were a dangerous illusion. If we take this deeper to what we would consider a significant event, let's pretend that there's a boy who's playing with his toys rather noisily in a house with a father who is violent. Let's say that the father hears this loud noise and gets angry and comes over and blindsides the child by smacking him in the face. This child might learn to associate his feelings of happiness and excitement and fun with getting slapped in the face and that consequence. The child then associates joy with the feeling of being blindsided. The positive emotion becomes linked with negative expectation and negative emotional states. And now even deeper, if we had people in our lives who were upset by our happiness and joy, maybe because they were jealous of it, or because it inconvenienced them in some way, or they felt resentful of us for some reason, then chances were that they deliberately sought to make us unhappy when we were feeling happy. What we learned then is that the only way to get love from them or keep the peace was to be unhappy. This pattern is especially common in families where a parent is particularly resentful of a child, and families where a parent gains their validation through having a child be dependent on them. When a child being happy makes a parent unhappy, the parent will often seek to reestablish unhappiness in the child. As a child begins to grow up and become independent, they are most dependent upon a parent when they are unhappy, such as I skinned my knee, or I need a hug, or I'm sick, or I can't reach something. If a parent needs their child to be dependent upon them to feel valid and loved, that parent is likely to subconsciously but deliberately keep the child in a state that is hurt, unhappy, sick, or incapable. As a result of our childhood experience, many of us feel as if there has to be a give and take in life. That means that when we feel happy, we feel like there is inevitably pain around the corner. For example, if we had a parent who would punish us for selfishly doing something that made us happy, we come to learn that if we do something to make ourselves happy, we deserve punishment. And so we posit this expectation that was developed by our primary authority figure parent over the top of the primary authority figure in our adult lives, which is God or the universe. We expect that there is a give and take when it comes to God or the universe as well. We expect that if we are happy or doing something to make ourselves feel happy, God or the universe will achieve balance and even the score by inevitably dealing us pain or tragedy. If you feel like you're one of these people who can't hold on to happiness or can't really touch it, here are some really important questions for you to ask yourself. Did I feel like the happiness of one or both of my parents conflicted with my happiness as a child? Did it feel like my happiness competed with their happiness? Did it feel like there was no way that both of us could be happy at the same time? That either I was happy or my parent was happy? Or my parent was happy and I was unhappy? When we feel as if our happiness conflicted with one of our primary authority figures, we grow up to feel as if our happiness is in conflict with the happiness of the universe at large. We start to feel like we're in a giant chess match, where we're fighting for our happiness, and the universe is fighting against our happiness. It wants us to suffer. As a result, we feel like at every turn the universe is going to try to make us unhappy. So to sum this all up, if we feel like it's impossible to hold on to happiness, like we can't really touch it or keep it, and if we feel like happiness is unreal, while unhappiness is the only valid, real experience we can have, what's really happening is that we have learned to fear happiness. We think that happiness is dangerous because we have been blindsided by pain when we were enjoying ourselves. What's more than that, we have been blindsided by pain when we were in the midst of enjoying ourselves repeatedly. And now for the crux of this entire video. The reality of the situation is, for most of us that can't feel happiness and feel as if happiness is unreal, the feeling of happiness and the feeling of joy has in and of itself become a trigger for the post-traumatic response. So why is this such a problem? It's a problem because you are now fighting your own survival instinct to be happy. The wires in your brain have crossed to such a degree that your being is trying to make you happy by keeping you unhappy. The strongest instinct in the physical body is the drive to avoid pain for the sake of survival. The minute your mind associates pleasure with pain, your brain now wires itself to avoid positive feeling states for the sake of feeling positive. We start to feel like our own mind is working against us. We feel like we are being prevented from happiness in every way, as if our being is an enemy living within. But understanding this dynamic should give you a bit of relief in and of itself, because it means that your own being loves you so much that, ironically, its motivation for keeping you unhappy is so that you will feel good. For most beings on Earth, they experience a baseline of joy, with temporary experiences of pain and unhappiness. But for some of us, the tables have turned, and our baseline becomes suffering. Our baseline becomes unhappiness, with temporary occasional experiences of positive emotional states. When this is the case, it definitely feels as if unhappiness, the state of grief, lower vibrational states, such as misery, is the real reality, that suffering is real, and that pleasure is false. If you are experiencing the lack of joy in your life or the continual inability to be happy, I want you to ask yourself some questions and be brutally honest when you're answering them. The first question is, what is my positive intention for being unhappy or suffering? The second question is, what bad thing would happen if I were always happy and always full of joy? Most of us think that we're trying incessantly to be happy, when in reality, there's a larger aspect of our subconscious mind which wants the exact opposite. So in essence, we're engaged in an internal tug-of-war between the conscious and the subconscious mind. The conscious mind that wants happiness, the subconscious mind that does not want happiness because of what it thinks that happiness entails. It is essential that if you feel like happiness is not something you can hold on to, that you spend time with your positive emotional states. What I want you to do next time you feel a positive emotion is to sit down, close your eyes, and let yourself sink deep into that particular feeling, as if you're a scientist exploring the sensations that that feeling gives rise to within your body. And what you'll notice quite quickly is that what happens in response to that positive emotion is that anxiety starts to rise within your body. You'll start to feel that uncomfortable feeling. It's almost like some part of you can't feel that positive emotion without feeling fear about it. What I want you to do when that secondary emotion appears, that secondary negative emotional response to the positive emotion, is to sink deeper and deeper into the negative emotional response, as if you're sinking into a cavern within yourself. I want you to explore the sensations of that negative reaction to the positive emotion that's happening within you. And when you feel like you have sat with that emotion long enough to release resistance to feeling it, I want you to ask yourself the question, when was the first time that I felt this feeling? If nothing comes up as a result of that, that's a valid experience. Any experience you have when you're doing this process is valid. It's the one that's right for you. But you might start to see images. You might get a full-blown memory. And if you do get the memory, what I want you to do is to posit your adult self in with your child self within that memory. I want you to kneel down at the child's level, and I want you to begin to validate the emotional response that's happening within the child inside that memory. So if the child is feeling immense grief, sit down with the child, hold the child. Don't invalidate their feelings or try to make them feel better. Just be present with them however they feel right then and there. What you will notice is that the child will start to feel relief. You'll notice relief come over them. You'll notice an improvement in the way that they feel. That's your indication that it's time for you to take action, to reparent your inner child that's in that particular memory, and to make changes to that memory for good. Most especially, you want to explain to this child that it's not unsafe to feel happy, and explain and demonstrate to this child how you will keep them safe so that they can be carefree, so that they can experience happiness without fear of being blindsided by something else. And also, let this inner child do anything that they need to do in order to be able to trust that they are safe to feel positive emotions, instead of constantly feeling like something's waiting around the corner to blindside them. To give you an example of how this process works, this week I put someone through this particular process. When they went into the feeling, they were brought back to a memory of themselves in the backyard of their house when they were about 5 or 6 years old. Earlier, she had been playing and laughing in the backyard with her dolls. Her mother, who was a highly stressed-out woman who owned a busy cleaning service, had seen her playing in the yard and instantly felt put upon by her own child. Her mother felt like an indentured servant to her daughter, because here she was slaving away, cleaning the house while her daughter played. Long story short, her mother came out of the house exasperated and yelling for her to get her butt inside and help out. She felt punished for playing and for being happy. She made the decision that in order to keep her mother's love, she had to stop playing and stop being happy. She knew that her happiness instigated emotional attacks from her mother. Her adult self sat with her sad childhood self and held her. She told her childhood self that what her mother was doing to her was unfair. She explained to the child why her mother was doing it and told her that it was not okay. She explained that there is no consequence for being happy. After her inner child seemed to feel some relief, she asked her if she wanted to stay with her mother or come with her instead. Her childhood self said, "Come with you." And so she created a perfect little home for the two of them, where her inner self could play and laugh and feel happy with absolutely no consequence. In my opinion, when it comes to healing and true healing, there's nothing more important than this particular process. Because in this process, we are addressing the causation of the particular experience of not being able to feel happy, not just the symptom. The symptom of being unable to feel happy or unable to hold on to happiness is a symptom. It's not a cause. People who fear happiness tend to expect the worst. For this reason, I want you to watch my video on YouTube titled, "How to Stop Expecting the Worst." Part of expecting the worst is catastrophizing. People who catastrophize play a lethal what-if game. It's essentially a chain of what-ifs. First, an event happens that leads to a what if this is what happens as a result of that, and if that's the case, then this will happen, and if that's the case, then this will happen, until we arrive at the very worst case scenario we can possibly imagine. It's an if A then B, if B then C scenario. For example, if we don't get a call from someone when we expected them to call us, then they don't love us. And if they don't love us, then they will break up with us. And if they break up with us, then we'll have to move out of the house. And if we have to move out of the house, then we'll have no way of supporting ourselves and we'll be completely alone. We basically assume that every link in this chain of expectation will inevitably occur. The way to break this cycle is to break the catastrophe chain. What we have to do is to look at every link in this particular chain and challenge every one of them for their truth and their validity. With each link in the chain, we need to consider the opposite and try to prove to ourselves how it may not necessarily be true. For example, using the previous scenario, if the what if is they don't love me, we could list things that they have done to show that they do love us. Or if the what if is that they will break up with me, list the reasons that this won't happen. Do this with every link in the chain leading to the worst case scenario. For people who have a post-traumatic stress response to happiness itself, it's incredibly hard to see the roses for the thorns in life. You can't see the positives. They don't occur to you. For this very reason, one of the most important things that you can do if you're one of these people is to keep a positive aspects journal. In this journal, what you do is anytime you experience an unwanted event or an unwanted or unpleasant thing, is that you write that thing down and then you come up with every way that that thing could be positive. Every positive thing which comes out of the experience. You're basically looking for the roses through the thorns. For example, say I wrote down that I'm sick. Some examples of positive aspects could be, I'm taking me time. I'm spending more time in the present moment. The cat is cuddled up with me. I'm realizing how much stress I'm in on a daily basis, which has encouraged me to make some changes to my life. It's an excuse to watch movies. I have more immunity now than I did before. My immune system is working, otherwise I wouldn't have these symptoms. I got to have some really comforting soup. This blanket feels good against my skin, etc. And at the end of each day, I want you to write the date down, and I want you to write the positive aspects that happened or things you enjoyed about that particular day. Doing this enables you to see that unwanted things are not necessarily punishment, and that the universe does not deliberately try every day to make you suffer. Another thing that's really good for people who have a post-traumatic stress response to happiness itself is exposure therapy. This means the more time you spend around joy, the more safe you realize that joy is. Do things that feel good. Prioritize happiness every day at least once so that you're doing something just because it feels good. This is going to trigger you. It will not feel good at first. It's going to feel like an invitation for tragedy and disappointment. But remind yourself like a mantra, it is okay to feel this way. It is okay to feel good. And pay attention to see if anything really bad happens as a result of feeling good. The more times that you consciously notice yourself feeling good and consciously see and take note of the fact that nothing bad happens as a result of feeling good, the more this trigger will diminish and the more comfortable you will be allowing yourself to feel good without fear of feeling good. If you have had negative experiences happen when you are feeling positive, then chances are really high that you're one of these people who feels like positive focus and optimism is naivety. Now, we gotta stop caring so much about what's true and what's not true. If we're addicted to truth, it's because we think that knowing the truth will make us feel better anyways. So what we need to do is to stop caring about true or false, right or wrong, and start instead caring about how we feel. We've got to do it because let's face it, regardless of whether something is true or not true, the real reality which we are sitting in is the reality that we can no longer live life this way because it's unbearable. In other words, we need to acknowledge and admit to the fact that we are in the amount of pain that we're actually in, that is where we are, and then move incrementally in the direction of things that feel better, because of the sheer fact that they feel better, because we can no longer live this way. We need to begin to treat ourselves like we deserve to be happy. Ask yourself these questions. Why am I unworthy of happiness? Does me being happy really take away from other people's happiness? Does me being happy really take away from the universe's happiness? If I were God and I had unlimited eternal resources and could do anything, and if someone was happy, would I want to take away their happiness or hurt them in some way? If so, why? If not, why? If I were God and I had all the energy in this universe at my disposal, and someone asked me for something that would make them feel happy, would I give it to them? So then why would God not want me to be happy and give me the things that would make me happy? We need to challenge the way that we're thinking about this universe and about happiness. The way we were seen and treated as children is not a good indication about how the universe at large sees us or will treat us. If you have suffered for the majority of your life, especially emotionally, and people say that the purpose of your life is joy, or to choose happiness, most likely all that's going to do is to make you feel incapable. It's going to make you feel stuck and imprisoned in your pain, as if nothing you can do can get you out of it. Be compassionate with yourself. You are not a negative person. You were hurt. You are not a Debbie Downer. You were hurt. You did not deserve to suffer. You were hurt. You are not so mentally ill that your brain chemistry makes you incapable of feeling joy. You were hurt. You are not consciously choosing to be unhappy. You were hurt. What do you do if you were hurt? You slowly get back up again, and taking little steps, you nurture yourself into a place of health. You take baby steps into happiness, and you learn by experience that bad things don't necessarily happen as a result of feeling good. If you can't seem to be happy no matter what you do, it is not your fault. Stop expecting yourself to suddenly feel good. This is as cruel and unreasonable as expecting a person who has been in a high-speed car crash to suddenly walk. If you can't touch happiness, I want you to reach instead for the feeling of relief. No matter where you are on your vibrational, emotional scale, relief is something that you have access to. As if you're taking baby steps down a yellow brick road and you have no idea where that road is headed. Just keep going in the direction of what feels a little bit better and a little bit better, whether that's a different thought, a different word, or a different action. The universe wants only good things for you, and in reality, all things we experience, even the unwanted experiences, come imbued with invaluable gifts. You don't have to recognize those gifts right away. In fact, you will not recognize them right away. You did not get blindsided when you were a child because you were feeling happy. You were blindsided by pain as a child because you were not in a safe environment. Maybe you weren't in a safe environment emotionally. Maybe you weren't in a safe environment mentally. Maybe you weren't in a safe environment physically. The reality is, it wasn't about the happiness. You just didn't have the awareness back then of the fact that you were in an unsafe environment. You didn't even know what that meant. Awareness plus happiness makes happiness a safe place to be. And even if you cannot believe it yet, you deserve that happiness. You deserve to feel safe when you feel happy. It is my hope that you will come to know that one day. And until then, know that you are not alone. A great many of us on this earth distrust our positive emotion. A lot of us on this earth have no idea what joy and happiness is, and have no idea what it would even feel like. For those of us who feel that way, our only option is to take tiny steps in the direction of what feels better and in the direction of relief. Nothing more and nothing less.